So a couple of people alluded to where we started. Some of you may not know, but when we had our very first Inspired Leaders meeting, we were in a small conference room with a table that fit, I think, 12 people. And we were really proud when that table was full. We were pretty happy about it. This was the conference room. And we have since grown from there. So I remember the day when we had people around that table and standing in the back. I was like, oh shit, this is getting real. Let's go. Okay. And so then we had to find a new place. So we were at the Diamond Client Group, like Lance said, and we were there for a while. And so we were averaging about 35 to 50 or so people in that room and starting to grow out of it. So there was discussions of, hey, okay, we need to find a bigger space. You know, we need a space that fits 60, maybe 70 people sometime soon. So we started exploring that. And then COVID hit. And so I actually remember the Friday in March that we had Inspired Leaders, people started telling us, hey, I'm not coming. That was right when everything was ramping up and when nobody knew what was going on. And I remember thinking, like, we'll be fine. We'll be back here in April. Like, it's not a big deal. And it wasn't that much long after that I realized we were going to have to pivot. And so pivot we did. And we were on Zoom for a few months until Glade Arts Gallery opened their doors to us. And we went back to the original number of attendees in person, which was 7 in July of 2020 at Glade. But it was great, and we were happy to get going again. And so we were there for a long time until once again we were starting to realize, hey, we're outgrowing this space. We better find something new. And we are so thrilled to be here at Vibrant Church. It's really just been so good to us. And we're really pleased to be here and be with all of you guys today. So we're at 115 people here today. So thank you very much. Our speakers are one of my favorite parts about what we do, because every single month they come up here and they share their stories and they tell us all kinds of things. We've heard people talk about bankruptcies, divorces, almost committing suicide, and anything that you can possibly imagine in between. It is really, really amazing that these people want to stand up here. They raise their hand and say, yes, I will share my story with a group of strangers that I don't know in hopes to inspire them and encourage them and let them know that if they feel the same way that I have felt, they're not alone and they can get through it. And so I want to take an opportunity to recognize our speakers through the years that are here with us today. So Andy, if you could join me up here, we are going to do a little bit of some recognition from these wonderful people. If you were a past speaker, if you could come up to your left side of the stage so that we don't have like a lot of lag time in you getting up here. Come on up here. That would be amazing so that we can just kind of hang out. So if you're a past speaker that's here, please just hang out over there until your beautiful name is called. All right, here we go. Let me try this again. Andrew Trudel, all right. Randy Lovelace. Barry Blanton. Yeah, stay up here. Saeed Zafar. Jeff Newkirk. Eddie Skinner, Terry Weaver, Josh Cherry, Daryl Jones, Dave Stanbridge, Marlise Ledbetter. That's all for right now because we're going to honor our past year. So these speakers have been with us from the beginning. They stood up and spoke when we were in tiny conference rooms and just trying to grow. And I would come to them and say, we're doing this thing. It's called Inspired Leaders. And I want you to share your story. Come into the light. You deserve to be in the light. Let's go. Come up here. Let's act like we all like each other. Come on. And so you guys all stood up and said, yes, I will share my story. I will talk about the things that I've been through. I will, try and inspire these people, you crazy Elizabeth girl. I don't know what you're trying to do, but okay. These people said yes very early on to us, and we are so grateful for them. So please give them a round of applause. And Maria, I'd love to get a picture. All right, if y'all could stay up here and just kind of scoot back a little bit, I want to call the speakers that are here with us from this past year. So this past year, we have that are here with us today. Actually, hold on a second. Let me do this differently. Our past year speakers, some of whom are here today and some of whom are not. Al Massey, who could not make it today, but we're so grateful for him. Yes, thank you. Please clap. Becca Carey, she's here with us. Judge Charlene Valdez, she could not be here with us today. Monette Smith, who could also not be here with us today. Same with Kai Bishop. I think he was supposed to come. I don't know where he went, but that's okay. Miguel Love. I'm sorry, my order is out of here. Barry Blanton, where'd you go? You're back twice. So Barry, come back up. We got something for you. Barry spoke when we were at Glade in July, and there were a record low of 7 people there. And then spoke again last November when we had the most people at the time. So we're very grateful for him. Miguel Lopez, who could not be here with us today. Ethan Fisher, he's here. All right. Judge Wayne Mack, who could not be here with us today. Yeah, you know. Miss Chris Winstrom. And last but not least, Robert Bodwin. Y'all, these people are some of the bravest, most wonderful people that I know, and I'm so grateful for them. So now we're going to do one big group photo. Robert, don't go anywhere. Come into the light, squish together. We're going to do one big group photo of all these amazing speakers this last 5 years. Give them all a round of applause. So I'm going to tell you just a little bit about Inspired Leaders. Our mission is to support the entrepreneurial journey by connecting local leaders in our community, and doing that through sharing stories of grit, perseverance, and success. It is so powerful, as I have said, about when you hear somebody's story and you know what their struggle is, and you realize that you are not alone and that you can keep going as well. It gives you strength, it gives you power, and it gives you motivation to keep going. But ultimately, we find all of that from within inside of us. And so when you hear something, you hear somebody talk about that, and then you see that in yourself, you go, okay, I can do this. I can keep going. And so we want to provide these opportunities for people month after month so that they don't quit when they cry in the car and feel like just quitting their business and going to work at HEB or something, right? Like it is a thing, it happens to us, and it's just a part of the journey. And so we want to support that so that we stop that from happening, and you don't quit, and you don't give up on what you're building, and you don't give up on what you're doing. And so we hope that by coming here and providing these resources and these videos that you can watch afterwards and all of the things will help you keep going when you don't feel like it. We have a crazy vision. We want to impact millions of people doing what we're doing, but that's pretty true to form for me and Andy. We see things really big, and we're really excited about that. And so we hope that we can impact people through things online, things in person, and everything that we want to do going forward. So we have some pretty lofty goals. This time last year, Andy shared with us that we had a goal of getting to 100 people to attend our event each month. This month, we have hit that goal. So, all right, here we go, right on time. So now we're putting it out there that we want to get to 200. And the reality is at this point, it doesn't even feel like that far away. It's very exciting, and I'm really just thrilled for where we are, and I'm so happy to be here with all of you. We also want to start a monthly podcast and feature our speakers. We want to get them out there in the community. We want to support their business and their entrepreneurial journey as well. And so we hope to be able to start a podcast that features them so that you can continue to get this source of inspiration and motivation from people when you're driving in the car or getting ready for the day or whatever it is that you might be able to listen to something and consume something that will help continue to build you up and grow who you are. And then we want to have an annual conference. So we would love to have a conference with 2,000 people, with maybe a big time speaker that you might know, but they still have to fall under the same criteria of being willing to share their shit. They can't get away with that just because they might be, a little bit more of a popular, well-known speaker. And we really just want to create a space where people can come and spend the day and really just get filled up and work on themselves and have opportunities to meet people in a unique way and share things in a unique way that is not done in most of our networking. And so that is what we want to be able to provide, and we need your help. And so if you want to get involved with Inspired Leaders, we would love to have you to be a part of what we are doing. And you can do that by joining the leadership team and helping us get things out there, or coming and setting up at 9:30 so we can be ready for today, or anything in between where we're really helping get this event together. You can also participate by being a sponsor. So if you would like to be a sponsor our media or our lunch or anything that we are doing, and get involved and get to stand up here on the stage and share your business, we would love to have you do that. Or if you have resources or people that you know, or ideas or connections or anything that you feel moved to help connect us with, to maybe start a podcast or where we could have a conference or things like that, stuff that we don't know. We don't know how we're going to get there, but we know we're going to figure it out. And we know that it's going to take all of us together to do that. We cannot do it alone. So if you would like to get involved, please come see myself or Andy or anybody on the leadership team. You can tell by our tags. We would love to talk to you. We would love to support you in what you're doing and have you be a part of our mission and our vision and what we're doing here at Inspired Leaders. So now what we've all been waiting for is our amazing speaker. I am just beside myself. I'm so proud of this man. We have come a very long way in our life and in what we're doing. And I'm just really honored to get to have him tell his story to you guys all today. And you get to know a little bit more about Andy and what he's done. So thank you for being willing to share your shit. So please help me welcome Andy Greever.
Thank you all so much for being here. I am so thrilled of the timing of this event for two reasons. It's of course our 5th anniversary and it's Mother's Day weekend. And so the first reason is I get to stand up here with all of you, with my mom in attendance, wherever she is, there she is. And I get to say Happy Mother's Day to my mom. Now, the second reason why I'm so thrilled of the timing of this event is because the story that I want to invite you into starts with my mom. So I was born in December of 1984 in Southwest Iowa. I'm the youngest of 3 brothers. And in March of 1985, my mom filed for divorce from our dad. Now, looking back at the last 38 years of what has transpired, I believe that my mom had a vision. She had a vision for her life. She had a vision for me and my brother's lives. And as time went on, gradually, our dad became more and more incongruent to that vision. Later in 1985, when the divorce was finalized, indeed, he proved to be incongruent. When the divorce was finalized, he opted out, signed over his rights. There was no every other weekend, no joint custody, nothing. He was so uninterested in continuing that he also found ways to avoid paying his legally obligated child support for years. So here's my mom. She's a high school graduate. She's not the breadwinner of the family. Her job is to take care of me and my brothers. There's 3 of us under the age of 5. And so here's my mom. She's in her late 20s, 3 children under the age of 5. She's newly divorced, so she's become a single parent. She's now become a single earner. And she's working seasonal part-time jobs making minimum wage. So she's become a single earner with 3 children under the age of 5, making minimum wage. So quickly, you can do the math in your head. We're living in poverty. So I'm just a few months old in 1985, and my mom is going to social services and applying for free and reduced lunch for my brothers when they go off to school. She's applying for food stamps. so that we can afford to have food at the grocery store. And if we're relying on members of our church for shoes and for clothes, for hand-me-downs. And if we did go shopping, we went shopping at the Salvation Army and Goodwill. And that happened, that persisted for years. My mom found herself in a deep hole financially. Now, I start the story here, not because this is a woe is me story, not because this is a victim story, but because this is a victor story. Now, with all that being said, I never heard my mom complain. I never heard her play the victim card. I never heard her blame anyone. And talk about extending grace to someone. I never heard my mom speak badly about our dad. Now, facing all of that, loneliness, poverty, not knowing where next month's rent check is going to come, my mom found a way to equip me and my brothers with 4 things. Number 1, like any good parent who's not a deadbeat, she loved us unconditionally. There was never a day that went by, never a night that we went to sleep that me and my brothers ever worried that our mom was not going to be there, that we weren't loved, safe, and secure. Numbers 2 and 3, regardless of the amount of money that was or was not in the bank account, we never went to bed cold. We never went to bed hungry. Now, the 4th thing that my mom equipped me and my brothers with, I believe made us some of the most privileged children in the world. I believe that there are children that are born into this world with much greater financial circumstances than me and my brothers that don't receive enough of this. I believe there might be some people in this room that don't receive enough of this, and I would like to change that. The 4th thing that my mom equipped me and my brothers with is encouragement. Now, me and my brothers, we have wild imaginations, big dreamers, always have been. I hope we always will be. And I remember in the summer of 1989, I was 4 years old, and for the first time, I remember picking up a baseball bat and a glove and a ball, and baseball just came naturally to me, and I loved baseball, fell in love. And I ran in the house, and I told my mom, I said, Mom, I want to be a baseball player. I want to be a Major League Baseball player, and I want to be the best baseball player ever. And she said, Andy, that's awesome, that's great. You can do it. It's going to take a lot of hard work, but you can do it, so you better get back out there. Okay, Mom. Every day after that, me and my brothers would have these wild proclamations and these big dreams that we would always share because we always knew that our mom was going to encourage us. And our mom never tempered our expectations. She never told us to dream smaller. She never projected her own expectations upon us because somehow prophetically she knew that was not her job. Her job was to encourage us. So I get to stand up here with all of you today on this Mother's Day weekend and get to say thank you to my mom for always encouraging us. Now, I imagine being a parent, one of the most difficult things that you have to wrestle with is knowing in the physical world that we live in, it's just impossible to equip your children with everything that they'll ever need in their lives. There are things that as we get older and as we grow and mature, that we have to learn to equip ourselves with. That brings me to the next part of the story. So as I mentioned, when I was 4 years old, I fell in love with baseball. And I remember later that year in 1989, I was watching the World Series on television, Oakland A's versus the San Francisco Giants. And I watched Jose Canseco and Mark McGwire on TV. And that was when it was branded in my brain. I want to do that. I want to win the World Series. I want to play on TV. So every day after that, I took my mom's advice. I worked hard, had a laser focus, narrow perspective. And I used my natural gifts of baseball with a lot of hard work and determination, and I earned a college baseball scholarship. So the first 2 years of school were highly subsidized playing baseball. And baseball took me a long ways until I was 21, and after my sophomore year of college, I was playing collegiate summer baseball, and I was playing with guys that were going off and signing professional contracts and getting drafted. And those guys were just on a different level, just a whole different level. And it kind of became evident after my sophomore year of college that I probably wasn't going to become a Major League Baseball player. My talents were peaking, and I was okay with it at that time. And so later that fall, when I transferred to the University of Iowa, I changed my focus from wanting to become a Major League Baseball player. I changed my focus to wanting to become a teacher and a coach. I'd spent my entire life since age 4 being a student and being a player It was just a natural transition to stay in school and become a teacher and a coach. So when I graduated from the University of Iowa in May of 2008, I started applying to jobs all over the place: Iowa, Illinois, North Carolina, Texas. And I got a call back from a school right here, York Junior High, brought me in for an interview for a junior high social studies job, junior high football coaching job, and a junior high track coach. I said, okay, I've never been to Texas before. Sure. So I come in for the interview, and later that day, they offered me the job. So I go back to Iowa City. I'm telling all my friends that I graduated with, guess I'm moving to Texas. So I'm packing up my old Jeep Cherokee with a window that doesn't roll down and no air conditioning, and I'm moving to Texas in August of 2008. And so I start my teaching and coaching job at York, and it's great. It's a foot in the door for a new opportunity. And in the fall of 2008, I realized that I wanted to become a football coach. I was coaching junior high football, and there was something magnetic about coaching football. I always thought that I wanted to be a baseball coach, but there's something about football that was magnetic. And so that fall, I talked with all the coaches that I was coaching with that had been coaching for years, and I said, how do I do this? How do I become the best coach possible? And not only did I want to be a coach, but I wanted to be a head coach. I wanted to coach in college. I wanted to coach in the NFL. Because I believed that was my path. That was my path to fulfilling my potential. That was my path to having the greatest positive contribution in this world. All I know in school and sports. So I was like, this sounds great. And so I wanted to coach on the largest levels. I wanted to coach at the highest levels because I wanted to make the biggest contribution. And so I started going to camps and clinics and learning from college coaches and watching film in my spare time. And after 2 years of coaching junior high football, I landed an opportunity to become an assistant varsity coach. And the coach that gave me the opportunity, became like a mentor to me. He was kind of an aspirational coach. He was the kind of coach that I wanted to become. He was winning on and off the field. He won district championships. He had a family. He called the kids on birthdays and Christmas, and it was just wonderful. And it was a great coach that I was able to learn from. And he saw something in me. He believed in me. Unfortunately, after 1 year with that school and with that coach, the school and the district decided that they wanted another head coach, and so they asked that head coach to go somewhere else. And it hurt me a little bit because I believed that I wanted to work for that coach for several years. I wanted to learn from him, and so I felt that I had to start all over. And so I remember talking with that coach that following spring. It was the spring of 2011, and I just wanted to get some understanding of what happened. How can I learn from this? And I remember telling him I was a little bit hurt, and he said, look, Andy, it's okay. You got to be resilient in this business. You got to remember this. There are two types of coaches, ones that have been fired and ones that will be fired. So he said, look, you got to be resilient in this business. Keep going. So I did. So I took his advice, and I ended up getting a promotion at another school. And so in year 4, the fall of 2011, I was coaching at one of the biggest schools in Houston. It's a football powerhouse. We were sending kids off to college, and we had college coaches coming to our games, and I continued to see my path continue to progress. And again, similar culture. That coach that hired me, that coach saw something in me, gave me an opportunity. He was an aspirational coach. He was out in the community. He was winning on and off the field. Been in the school for 12 years, won district championships. Again, he was the type of coach that was calling the kids on their birthday, calling the kids on Christmas to make sure those kids knew that there was someone thinking about them. And the spring, following that spring, in spring break of 2012, after the football season was over with, I'm checking my email that Sunday before we come back from our break. We had a week-long break for spring break. And I go and I check my email, and the email reads, mandatory coaching meeting, 6:30 a.m. Monday, Fieldhouse. Okay. So I arrived to school in time for the mandatory coaching meeting, and normally when I would show up to the coaching staff parking lot, the head coach he was there first. He was there like 5:30 a.m. And he drove a white F-150 truck, and he parked over on the right side part of the parking lot. And I arrive, and I get out of my car, and I look over, and I don't see our coach's truck. Walk in the field house, walk upstairs, go to the conference room. There's coaches already there, and there's district personnel there. Look around the room, and I don't see the head coach. And at 6:30, the district personnel start speaking, and very quickly it becomes evident that they had let that head coach go. So now 2 years in a row, I'm seeing a coach that's aspirational for me, a coach that saw something in me, that gave me an opportunity, a coach that was putting the children first, putting the kids first. Coach was winning on and off the field, and for 2 years in a row, I saw them basically ask, go somewhere else. While getting a teaching salary and with a coaching stipend on top. We're not coaching in the NFL. And it's at that moment that I started to become a little bit bitter. I started to doubt what we were doing. And I struggled with that for a few months. So the rest of that school year in 2012, I thought it was a phase, and maybe I just needed to get to the summer. I needed to get to the summer of 2012 and I wasn't going to work any camps or clinics. I was just going to take some time off and just get re-energized, and maybe I'll get my mind right. In that summer of 2012, the more time that I took away from it, the more that I realized I didn't want to do it anymore. The more that I realized I didn't believe in it anymore. And I believed we're putting the children first, we're putting the kids first, we're winning on and off the field, and that's still not good enough. Then why are we there? Why are we doing it? And I also started to realize I didn't know what else I was going to do. All I had done since I was 4 years old, I'm 28 years old now, since I was 4 years old, all I had done was spend my time around school and sports. That was it. I was the type of person, I had no idea what people did outside of teaching and coaching. And so Elizabeth and I, we were engaged at the time, so she knew that I was struggling with some things. She knew that I was trying to figure out what it is that I wanted to do. And I told her, I said, look, I don't know what I'm going to do. All I've done is spend my time around teaching and coaching, but if I go back to teaching and coaching, I'm going to be completely miserable. And now I'm starting to feel trapped. We just got engaged. We're trying to envision this life that we want to build. I know that I need to make money, and I want to do something that's fulfilling. I want to do something that's impactful. And now I'm feeling that I'm trapped, that I have to go back to teaching and coaching because I have no other options. The only other person that I told how I felt and what I was going through was my friend Matt, who graduated with me from the University of Iowa. He came down to Houston that summer for a couple of days, and I told him, I said, Matt, I don't know what to do. I feel like I've followed my passion. I followed my passion to the end. All I do, I look out and I just see it's just completely black. There are no other options. All I've done is spend my entire life around teaching and coaching. Either I go back to teaching and coaching and be completely miserable, completely unfulfilled, and probably be the worst teacher and coach in the history. Or I go bag groceries. That's about all I can do. And the next thing that Matt told me has now become the first of 4 inflection points of what now has become a decade-long transformation, a decade-long reinvention of who I am. When I told him, I said, Matt, either I go back to teaching and coaching and be completely miserable, or I go bag groceries. He said, life is not either or. Life is yes and. You have to expand your perspective. All you've done is focus on teaching and coaching, school and sports, your entire life. There's so much more out there. You just have to meet new people. You have to expand your perspective, and you'll find your yes and. So that summer, I had a new passion. I had a new mission. I had a new purpose. I woke up each day that summer, and I said, I've got to find my yes and. So I did go back to teaching and coaching for 1 more year. I did not want to feel like I was a quitter. I went back to junior high level so I could have nights and weekends, and I felt maybe I needed more time. 2 weeks into that school year, I knew that I was done. So I spent the rest of that school year with a little bit more free time. Rather than networking with coaches, rather than watching film on my free time, I started meeting people and trying to expand my perspective. I had an opportunity to get back to the gym. And it was there at the gym, and I met a gentleman named Calvin. And I told Calvin how I was feeling and kind of what I was going through. I was like, I don't know what people do. And he said, I work for a company called Crane. Come over to my company. I'll set you up with some meetings, and you can meet some people. It'll help expand your perspective, and you can find something if you like it, if you don't like it, and you can find out help expand your perspective. So I did that, and it was people like Calvin doing things that I didn't know anything about that helped to push me forward to expand my perspective. That brings me to January of 2013. I got connected with a company, is a small sporting goods distribution company, and they were looking to hire an outside salesperson to sell sporting goods to high school coaches and college coaches. So I applied for the job, and they brought me in for the interview. And I remember being in the interview, and I said, I think I'm perfect for this job. I've been a teacher and a coach for almost 5 years. I know half the coaches in Texas. I've used sporting goods my entire life. There's just one problem. I don't know anything about sales. And the company was great. They said, that's okay. We'll teach you. So they hired me. So when I was done teaching and coaching in May of 2013, the very next day, I was out selling sporting goods. I was a commissioned salesperson. And after the second week of selling things, I sold like 3 things. I got my check and I was like, ooh, it's like 1/10 of what I was making as a teacher. I was like, well, this is not gonna work. I gotta learn sales. I gotta figure out the sales thing fast. The company was great. They set me up with this sales training program called the Chet Holmes Business Mastery System. And it was like an 18 DVD box set. Each DVD was an hour long. And they said, watch this, take notes, apply it, and little by little, it will work. It'll help you. So, okay, I was highly motivated. I need some money. So little by little, I started watching these DVDs and I would apply it in what I was doing. And it was, cold calling, getting anyone on the phone, overcoming objections, just sales 101 stuff. And it was great. And little by little, my sales started growing. After the first month, I made a little bit more in month 2 and month 3. And I get to September, and I was almost making what I was making as a teacher, so I could see that it was working. And I get to October, and I'm watching this Chet Holmes stuff, and I'm like, this is great. I'm taking pages and pages of notes, and it's great. And I'm watching it in the morning and watching it during lunch and after work and on the weekends, and because I want to learn and I want to grow, and I want to grow my sales. I need to grow my sales. And I get to November, and November's been the best month yet. And I get halfway through December, and I've watched this Chet Holmes DVD thing over like 3 times. And I remember Chet Holmes mentioned something about Tony Robbins. And Tony Robbins mentioned something about Jim Rohn. And Jim Rohn mentioned something about Zig Ziglar. So I'm just watching and reading and listening to all these guys, and I'm trying to just glean everything that I can and be the best salesperson that I can. And halfway through December of 2013, I had the best sales yet. In 2 weeks, I'd already had the best month. And it was then that I realized what has now become the second inflection point along this journey. I am what I consume. For the last 6 months, I barely thought anything about teaching. I thought hardly anything about coaching. I've been thinking about sales, about personal growth, business, and it was working, and I was believing in it. Now, fast forward to And I guess, and as I continued to grow and I continued to expand my perspective, and I continued to believe in what I was doing, opportunities started to reveal themselves to me. Opportunities I never knew existed. Certainly not would have applied to me. And we get to the summer of 2014, and I get an opportunity to get into oil and gas sales. I couldn't even spell oil and gas before 2014, and here I am. I have an opportunity to get into oil and gas sales, and it was yes and. So in September of 2014, Elizabeth was still teaching at the time, and her school was doing doing an initiative based on the Stephen Covey book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I had not yet read that book, but I am what I consume. So I picked it up and read it right along with her. And I remember going through the pages, like, yes, this is great, and highlighting and underlining and all these great things. And I get to habit number 4. And at habit number 4, Stephen Covey so perfectly articulates having 2 different mindsets. And have you ever had that time in your life when you're reading something or listening to something, and it's like it holds up a full-length mirror in front of you, and you see yourself head to toe as you really are? When I was reading about habit number 4, and Stephen Covey articulated having a scarcity mindset. That was that full-length mirror for me. I had a scarcity mindset, especially about money, especially about economic opportunities. Remember where I come from, free and reduced lunch, hand-me-downs. I viewed money as scarce. I viewed economic opportunities as scarce. When I turned the pages of Stephen Covey's book, and he talked about having an abundance mindset, that ultimately has become the third inflection point along this journey. When I read those pages about having an abundance mindset, I only had to read those pages once. And I knew I must have an abundance mindset. To be the best person that I can, to be the best husband that I can, to be the best salesperson, to be the best whatever it is in my yes and future, I must have an abundance mindset. Now, I've got to warn you, it did not happen overnight. 2 years. 2 years I spent focusing on this, trying to change my mindset. 2 years during that process, I also had to shuffle certain people out of my life and shuffle different people into my life. I had to consume different things, even the people that were around me, the things that I listened to. We get to May of 2016. Elizabeth is feeling that she wants to end her teaching career. I'm still early in my oil and gas job, and so we're still a dual income family. And so we've got to be careful about what she does in terms of if she's going to stop teaching. We still heavily rely on her income. And so we know that she gets 2 months paid, and so we're going to start this real estate investment company. And so we're going to spend the summer doing everything that we can to try and get this company up and running. And maybe by the time that she has to go back to teaching, she won't have to go back because we've made just deal after deal. So that summer when she was done teaching, we were just out and we went to a weekend conference and it was like we were running for Congress. We were going to networking event and this thing and trying to get deal after deal, just all these things. And we were just focused on the here and the now. We were focused on every single day, filling it up as full as we could, because we believed that if we just did every single day, every single thing, every single day, when that time came that she was going to have to maybe make that decision, it was going to be an easy choice. We weren't even going to notice that her teaching income was gone. So we were very busy that summer, and we get to the end of July, Tuesday, July 26th. I'm in South Texas on oil and gas sales calls. I come in the door late that afternoon. Elizabeth comes in the door late that afternoon. We're getting ourselves ready for dinner, and we sit down. She's smiling from ear to ear, sparkles coming out of her ears like always. And she sits down, and she says, "Guess what I did today?" I'm thinking, oh my gosh, you got a deal. Yes, we got a deal, finally. She goes, "I quit my job." And I go, "Oh no, we've not made any deals. You've got one more paycheck left." And then poof, nearly half of our income is gone. I drop my fork, I scurry into the office, I turn on the light, log into our bank account, look at our savings account. If we don't get a deal in 3 months, we're gonna have to get this savings account. If we don't get a deal in 6 months, we're gonna have to get into this savings account. And I'm panicking and I'm losing my mind. And for two years, I've been trying to change my mindset. For 2 years, I've been trying to have a growth mindset. And for 2 years, for the first time, I get a test put in front of me, and it's not going well. So fortunately, Elizabeth gets me. She gives me some space, gives me some time. And I like to go to the gym before work each morning. It's just like my sanctuary. I go to the gym, and I'm working out, and I'm praying. I'm trying to get my mind wrapped around it. Doesn't happen that Wednesday. Thursday rolls around, go to the gym, working out, and I'm praying, trying to get my mind wrapped around it. It doesn't work. Unfortunately, both of us had very busy weeks for sales calls and everything. Friday morning rolls around. Friday, July 29th. I go to the gym, and I'm working out, and I'm praying, and I'm working out, and I'm praying, and I'm praying, and I'm praying. And my God, am I praying? I'm not even really working out my body at that point. I'm working out my faith. Go off on sales calls later that day. Come home late that afternoon. Elizabeth comes home. I go to Elizabeth and I say, "I'm so proud of you. You're so brave. You're so courageous. This company's going to be great. We're going to make it. I'm all in." We not made a deal. We had no deal on the horizon. We had spent money we didn't have. But for the first time that day, not only did I believe in a growth, abundance mindset, I was finally operating with an abundance mindset. The very next day, Saturday, July 30th, because I was finally, for the first time in my life, operating with an abundance mindset, because I relied on my faith, and because Elizabeth and I chose unconditionally that we were in it together. And we were willing to lay it all on the line. We were willing to give up nearly half of our income for this dream that we believed in. The very next day, the fourth and final inflection point along this journey, we got our first deal. Now, that deal was nothing spectacular, but that deal was validation. That deal was validation for what we were doing. That deal was validation that if we're willing to make the sacrifice, if we're willing to rely on our faith, we're willing to really put the work in to having an abundance mindset, to believing in a yes and life, that day was validation. That was the fourth and final inflection point along this journey. Now, I want to leave you with these three things. Number one, I want to encourage you to always remember that life is yes and. Number two, I want to encourage you to always surround yourself and consume the things that reinforce that belief. And number three, I want to encourage you to make sure that your beliefs align with your actions and you will achieve success. Thank you so much for having me.